What's up, guys? This is Mark McDonough, your Sacramento realtor, and this is Matt, the mortgage guy. We're talking a little bit of the cash out refinance and why it could make sense to you, pros and cons, and all that kind of stuff. Matt, how's it going?
It's going good, man. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Now, I'm going to give you guys a little forewarning. It's like when you play baseball, you have a batter. They say, don't throw him a curveball. This is a curveball, and I'm throwing it at Matt. This is his thing, cash out refinance. Matt, take it away, man. Give us a little information about it and tell us the pros and cons. Hit it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing we'll talk about, right, is pros and cons, because it doesn't make sense for everybody. And when you've got a really good mortgage person you like and you trust, you can call them and say, here's my scenario, here's what I'm looking to do, here's what I think, and then get their input. And those are the conversations I have day in and day out. I enjoy them because I know I'm providing value to the end consumer, because my goal is always, I tell them this too, I'm going to step into your shoes, and based on everything you tell me and everything I know about mortgages, tell you what I would do if I was you. Because I get tons of different phone calls where somebody calls me and they're either unsure of what the best course of action is, or they think that something else is better. And as we talk, as we start to get into it, they realize, oh, I didn't think about that. And I say, well, why don't you consider this? Why don't you consider that? And so I tell people all the time, let's get on the phone, let's talk through it together, and we'll figure it out. Because you'd be surprised at how often we have these aha moments, me and clients, where we're talking through it and they're saying, well, I was thinking about doing this or thinking about doing that. And I go, well, what about, because to me, it sounds like you only need $8,000. What about if you did a rate and term? We got you a refund from your old escrow account. We skipped a month's mortgage. And now all of a sudden you're creating a little bit of cash, but you don't have to take the hit for doing a cash out. How does that sound? Oh, that's great. Because I'll talk about a number of different things. A cash out refinance versus a rate and term refinance where you're just refinancing to lower the rate or something. The rates are different, and you're going to pay a slightly higher rate for a cash out refinance. So in a lot of scenarios where people have called me and said, I need $7,500 because I'm redoing a bathroom, or I need $5,000 because I want to get rid of this credit card that I've had forever. In those scenarios, you say, hey, listen, we're not going to take that huge hit. And when I say huge, it might be 0.5% higher, depending on the scenario, for the cash out. But let's not do that for this small amount. If you need $100,000 and you're doing something extravagant, you're adding 600 square feet to your house, then you have to do a cash out refinance to get that done. But in the case where you need $5,000, $7,500, something smaller, then we say, hey, you're going to skip 1 month's payment. That's $2,800 in your pocket. Look at your current escrow account. There's $3,300 a month there that you're going to get refunded to you within 30 days of doing this new loan. Let's do that. Let's do rate and term, because look at the rate and term rate. We can get you a 30-year fixed at 2.999. Let's do that. So that's the thing, is that it's impossible for me in any setting to tell people, here's the hard and fast rules. If you've got this, you need that, because there are endless scenarios there. And I get them every day. And I tell people that's the first thing, is let's talk about what you're trying to do, and let's figure out the best course of action. Because, there's a number of reasons for cash out refinance. There's debt consolidation. There is, I've got a lot of borrowers who unfortunately have IRS debt and things like that. There's, somebody has a first and a second loan and they want to pay off that second, just have one loan, have it all be a fixed rate mortgage. They don't want to worry about the second that's adjustable, things like that. There's all kinds of different reasons. They're sending kids to college, and, we got to figure out how to structure this thing. There's other considerations as well, where I talk to somebody and they're telling me that they want to do one thing, and I show them a little bit of tweak, like, hey, listen, I know you said you needed about $65,000 for paying off this, and that, but let's look at if you took $50,000, keeping it 60% loan to value. That's kind of a magic number pricing wise for cash out refinances, where the pricing's a lot better. If you stay under 60%, we'll get a much better deal on the refinance. And then maybe that other $15,000. That's a car that you have financed at 2.24%. Just keep that loan, pay off all the credit card debt that's at 17%. So, it's fun for me because a mortgage advisor is a debt advisor. And we're looking at your whole debt picture. We're trying to figure out what to do. And there's so much opportunity right now, Mark. It's exciting to be in my position because top level people I follow in mortgage are really using these super, super low rate environments to just help people out. Consumer debt is at an all-time high. And, the average consumer just has boatloads of debt. And when you start looking at some of this credit card stuff that's at 12%, 15%, 18%, 21%, it's crazy. You might pay tens of thousands of interest on a relatively small amount of that debt, where, if we're doing a cash out refinance and we're in the low to mid 3%, and you're taking it as a write-off on your taxes as well, so you got that to even offset it even more, make it even cheaper money. You can really help somebody financially. And obviously, I'll get feedback no matter how much information I put out there that is intended to help the consumer. Oh, you're going to get them more in debt, and then they're going to charge up credit cards and be worse off 5 years from now than we're today. Well, sure. You can only do so much, but when there's all the equity that currently exists, and the funny part is you look at now versus 2008, when home prices, or 05, 06 maybe is a better reference point. Home prices were relatively high like they are today, and we've got so much more equity. Back then, lenders were looser guideline-wise. You get 100% loan, no income documentation. And so some people that are afraid of the average homeowner too far leveraged, we're not even close. And I don't have the stats offhand, but I've looked at them recently, and I've heard it from Barry Habib and other mortgage folks about the amount of equity we have. And when anyone talks about, when cash out refinances increase, it's a sign that, the mortgage market is too frothy and it's due for a collapse, or some, clickbait headline like that. We're nowhere near that. We're at a point where homeowners have more equity than ever. And sure, it's like everything, where you've got tools that can help and they can hurt. And if you do a cash out refinance and go to 80% and you're irresponsible, you charge up another $80,000 in consumer debt, you could see yourself in trouble. And that's one thing that you want to be careful of. And somebody in my position who people like me and trust me and take my advice, I'll tell them, pretty straightforwardly. Clients that I have, they know that I'm looking out for them and I'm trying to give them good, honest advice. Hey, listen, after we do this, don't close the credit cards per se, because that might negatively impact your credit. Maybe you close half of them or something, but don't go out and charge another $33,000 on this Chase card just because it's fun and easy to swipe it. What you should be doing is when we set you up, we say we're going to pull out $45,000 equity. We're going to pay off this, and this. Sometimes it's 12 cards we're paying off for somebody. And you look at just their minimum payments. If they're paying minimum, that's like $1,700 a month that they're saving. Now, what they should do is not go spend it, either have, depending on the scenario and where they're at in life, either have a game plan where, hey, I'm going to give $1,000 a month of that to my financial advisor, or I'm going to put $1,000 in savings and not even look at it and let my savings accumulate. Or what some people like to see is, man, you've been making this work for the last 3 years with this mortgage payment and all these other debt payments. What if we refinance? You paid off all that stuff and you took that $1,700 and applied it to your mortgage. And then they start to look at like, wow, I could have my house paid off in 11 years if I used all that money to pay off my mortgage and I slowed down some of the consumer spending. And, those are the real exciting ones for me, because somebody sees it and they're like, wow, I do have a lot of credit card debt. I'm paying a ton. And if I can control my spending, which is easier said than done, right? Take that money I'm saving, throw it at the principal, they look at it and they go, I'm 51. I could have this mortgage paid off by the time I'm 62. And that's just one scenario of thousands where, depending on where you're at, you got different goals. You know, somebody who's 10 or 11 years from retirement, the thought of having their mortgage paid off when they retire and not having that payment is what's exciting to them. Somebody who's younger, maybe they're not worried about paying off the mortgage, but they want to save money and save up for an investment property. Buy an investment property is going to kick off cash flow. Whatever it is, you know, it's a tool, and it's a really cool tool. I mean, I can't tell so many different scenarios and, you know, cool, exciting uses of cash out refinance and any refinance for that matter, where we've really helped borrowers situation. You know, you'd be surprised. I am advising folks, but to some people, this is life changing, dude. And you'll get people on the phone that are crying because they never thought that they'd be able to get out from underneath this huge mountain. And you say, hey, listen, I know adding $50,000 to what your mortgage balance isn't ideal, but you've got $2,600 worth of payments from all this high interest credit card debt. Rates are so low that we're going to do a cash out refinance, pay off all of that. By lowering your rate, your payment's only going up $120 on your mortgage. I know you can afford that because you can afford all this credit card debt. Now, I really want to help you, and I really want this to be something that you look back on and are happy about. So do me the favor, Miss Jones. Let's make a pact right now that you're not going to call me in 3 years with a new $50,000 in credit card debt. And, you know, it feels good for me to ask that of people, and I do it jokingly, but I really mean it when I'm trying to help people, and I don't want them to use, you know, because that's honestly what happened back when the money was easy. You didn't have to do much to qualify for it, and I guess on that side of it, the risk is real, right? If you continue to spend $3,000 a month above your means and you do a cash out refinance, pay off all these credit card debts, then go out and, you know, the spa looks nice, the new car looks nice, this looks nice, and you're in that same position 3 years from now and you do it again, and then you continue to spend like that and your habits don't change, you could get in a position where you have trouble making payments. And worst case scenario, you know, can't make your mortgage payment, foreclose. That's what you want to avoid. But if done responsibly, man, rates are amazingly low. It's a cool time to have some home equity, have access to it. And, you know, paying off the credit cards is one thing. Other folks, you know, I do a cash out refinance for them. They're like, oh, this is awesome. You know, my payment's this, but I was able to have my daughter not worry about having to work full time while she's in college. I told her if she keeps a 3.0, I'm going to give her $12,000 a year towards college, or whatever it is, right? Everyone's got different stuff, but it's a cool tool that exists. And I guess what you initially asked, cash out refinance, pros and cons. We'll talk about that because that's a hot topic, and I know it because me and you have talked about that YouTube video I have that just, you know, has got 50, 60,000. It's got like 50 some odd thousand, 55,000 organic views. No paid advertising from me, no anything. But I think my honesty in the video is really what made it attractive, where it continued to get views. People watch the whole thing because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's cons to a cash out refinance. And like I talked about it, one of the biggest ones in my opinion, just thinking about it, is you get yourself out of debt by using the cash out refinance and the equity that you've gained over the years to pay off the credit cards. If you continue with those spending habits, you continue to rack things up, you are just adding balance to your mortgage. In most cases, even when the rate comes down, you know, your payment goes up a little bit. So you've got to be careful to what I heard somebody talk about lifestyle inflation recently. And from my seat, where I see a bunch of people's finances, it's real, man. Somebody goes from making $75,000 a year to 100 to 150 to 200, and they don't save more. What they end up doing is just spending more based on what they're making. So you want to avoid that, especially, you know, a time like now where people, you know, the state workers in California are looking at 10% pay reduction. You see that, where they're going to be furloughed and whatnot. And so people in general, I think, are optimistic. And so, oh, I'm always going to make more. I'm always going to be able to pay this. And then they see the shiny new object and all the toys, and they want to get a 4-wheeler like their neighbor, and they want to get a boat because Folsom Lake's beautiful. But you can't continue to do that and get yourself in trouble. So a con of a cash out refi would be to over leverage yourself, get yourself in a position, because the last thing, I mean, you can have $60,000 in credit card debt and stop paying, file bankruptcy. That's, not ideal, but not much happens besides your credit's wrecked and you have trouble getting, credit cards for the next 5, 6 years. But, the worst case is, you live in this house for 11 years, you've paid your payments on time for 11 years, and you get in a position where you're in trouble because your spending's out of control, and then you foreclose on the house and have to figure something out for housing. So that's the worst case. But I think the pros outweigh the cons if done correctly. Tons of pros, especially when rates are lower, because that's the thing is, in the mortgage world, people that I'm talking to all the time, a lot of times cash out refinance is not super rate driven. If people need cash, whether it's fund college tuition, whether it's pay off credit card debt, whether it's, it's a number of things, they're not very rate sensitive like a rate and term refinance. A rate and term refinance is only when rates are low. I want to get a better rate, better term, I'm gonna lower my payment. A cash out, there's a life need for it. And so that's probably something to look at too when you're pulling cash out.
Well, I think also, just on my side, it's like, I think when you're getting some kind of lump sum of cash or whatnot, like the main thing, and this is just from my own personal experience, is like, have a plan in place before you get the cash. Don't let the money come into place and then start thinking about, start seeing it and start thinking, oh wait, how about this? How about that? Like, have a plan in place. Like, talk to someone like Matt, where he can tell you, like, this is what I would do and this is what I would suggest you do. And kind of have a plan in place. You know what I mean? Like, it's like having a big lump sum in front of you. Like, that's just it's
right. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing too, is nobody's immune to, being tempted by shiny objects and stuff. And speaking of the plan in place, I'll share some real world examples. I'm asking my clients permission. Hey, Sharon, I want to help you out. And here's what I see as your best course of action. And with your permission, I would like to hold you accountable, check in with you, because I've got clients that have credit that's, for lack of a better term, not so good. But let's say they've got all this equity in their house and their credit score is 642. Well, at that credit score, an FHA loan might be their best option. And so I tell folks, hey, listen, we can do a cash out FHA, get $37,000. We can structure it in a way where we're not going to take the best rate, because we're going to take a rate that gives you some closing cost credit. So this refinance isn't expensive to you. It might be free if we do it correctly. But what we're going to do with that $37,000 is, I see the credit report. I know why your credit's 642, and most of it's debt load. Most of it's, that 12% interest installment loan you got at the bank, the credit card balance at, wherever it is, right? And if you paid that off, your credit would go up by 60 points. And so do that, continue to make your payments on time. Let's set a goal to pay off X, Y, and Z, and continue to pay your payments on time. 6 months, 9 months, 12 months from now, if your credit's 720, like it should be, if you follow the plan, then we're going to do a rate and term refinance into a conventional loan. We're going to drop the mortgage insurance. We're going to drop your rate. And, I got to be responsible and say, listen, I don't know what rates are going to do in a year, but I can tell you with confidence right now, I don't think rates are going to do the rates aren't going to go much higher for the foreseeable future. 12, 18, 24 months. We're going to be a low interest rate environment where if we take a high rate FHA, basically use the credit to pay for the loan. So today's loan doesn't cost you anything, but it's at a higher rate than we could have got you. So you're going to pay an extra $90 a month or whatever that higher rate equates to. But you're going to get the cash out, pay all this stuff off, continue to make payments on time. In 6 months, 9 months, we're going to be in a great position to do a rate and term refinance conventional and get rid of that mortgage insurance and lower your rate. Those are the kind of things where, like you said, having a plan is important. And when it's a plan like that, where I'm like, listen, let's not get stuck. Let's not get stuck in this rate that's higher than you could have taken, and it's an FHA loan with mortgage insurance, because the carrot that gets dangled if you follow the plan is lower rate, no mortgage insurance, and $300 less per month, or whatever that is once we get you to 720. So that's something to think about too. I don't know if it's related to cash out refinance, but it's certainly important, and credit is important when people who are looking at it from a debt consolidation point of view. 35% of your credit score, when you pull your credit score for a mortgage credit report, is debt load. Meaning, if you've got a credit card with a $10,000 limit and you've got $9,100 on that card, you've got another card with a $5,000 limit and you got $4,700 charged on that card, you're near your limits, and so your utilization is 80%, 90%, really above 30. It's going to start hurting you. But at those levels, I'll look at a credit report. They've paid everything on time. They've had a perfect history of payments, but their credit score is 656, because based on the algorithms, hey, when you give Mark a $10,000 limit, he's using all of it. You give him a $5,000 limit, he's using all of that too. So he's to the brink, So in those scenarios, that cash out refinance, you pay that down to zero, all of a sudden, boom, you got a 715 within 2 months, because debt load is such a big piece of that credit score. So, and that's, if we want to talk pros and cons of cash out refi, I've got people all the time that call me and say, hey, I need 10,000 for this or 15,000 for this. How's your credit? Oh, it's crummy. And I look at it, I go, well, you got a conventional loan with a 3.75 rate. At your current credit score, it's going to be expensive to pull money out. And that's where somebody who gives you honest advice is very important, because what you want to look at is, let's say you owe $300,000 on your mortgage and you want to pull cash out for whatever reason. It's $15,000 because, you pulled out some loan at one of these online places where it's unsecured and you're paying 18%. I don't know why I did that, Matt. I wish I would have never done it. I want to pay it off. I owe $12,650 on it, whatever that is. Well, if you got really good terms on that $300,000 mortgage and your credit is not so great, I'm going to tell you stay put, because the last thing you want to do is do a $315 mortgage, pay 1% higher because the terms you get with your current credit score are worse than your current mortgage, just to pay off this small loan at 18%. Because then what you do is you're paying a full percent higher on $315,000 versus just this big interest rate on the small loan. So in those cases where you're going to take much worse terms on the whole mortgage, leave that thing alone. And people are inquiring about that all the time. And there's a lot of scenarios, especially recently, where someone goes, oh, I got all this equity, and they call me and they've got 17 years left on their mortgage and they're at a 3% or whatever their first mortgage is. No mortgage insurance, 3% fixed. And I tell them, don't touch that. Don't mess with that. They need $25,000 because they really want to do their master bathroom really nice. In that case, go to a credit union and get a home equity line of credit. Home equity line of credit, the pros to that are they're relatively inexpensive. Most credit unions, which is the best place to get that type of loan, are going to have very minimal fees. They might need an appraisal. They'll probably use an AVM, some model that just gives a value of your home. And, in those scenarios where we're comparing mortgage versus HELOC, no matter what any mortgage person tells you, a refinance costs money. It either costs money by paying the $1,000 lender fee, $1,200 for the different title fees and whatnot, appraisal if needed. And if they don't charge you, if you don't see those things, or if they say, oh no, we got a no closing cost fee loan. Well, the no closing cost one, they raise the rate to pay for that stuff. And you'd be surprised how many conversations I have where I tell people, listen, don't fall for Kohl's marketing when they tell you, look at this, it's 65% off this sweater. And you're like, well, the sweater's 99 bucks. 65% off makes it 35. This thing's 29 on Amazon. It's not a very good deal. You know, it's similar smoke and mirrors in the mortgage game when they're telling you no closing costs. And I mean, I hate the deceptive marketing. You know, it costs. If it doesn't cost you and you don't see the cost, then it's essentially rolled into the rate. And instead of a 2.99, they're offering you a 3.25, which in a lot of cases might be a great deal. You know, 3.25, no closing costs. But when you're trying to figure out what to do, a HELOC is going to be less expensive and better in some circumstances. And I say some circumstances because let's take a scenario where you got a 5% first mortgage and you want to pull money out and do that same bathroom remodel. Well, if we can do a cash out refi at 3.625, get your cash for your bathroom, and you're lowering the rate on that whole mortgage, you'll probably get that $25K cash out and your payment will go down. And in that case, it works. You know, in the case where you've got a 3% fixed, you need $25,000, and I'm telling you, don't touch the first, man. Leave it alone. Go get a good HELOC. They've got adjustable rate HELOCs. They've got fixed HELOCs, whatever it is, and that might be your best bet. So, you know, like most mortgage advice I'm going to give, it's going to be dependent on the scenario. There's pros and cons to each way you slice it. You just got to talk to somebody who you like and trust. And, you know, I will continue to do as best I can. The YouTube stuff I put out goes nationwide. And so I'll get calls, texts, emails, all of it. And I think what I want to do is I want to set up an email that's dedicated to answering folks' questions. Because people will call me or text me. I call them back, leave a message. I'm thinking to myself, this is super inefficient. You know, I'm happy to spend 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes helping some guy in Alabama or Georgia or Florida who's got a mortgage question. Because I'm telling you, Mark, dozens of times they're like, hey, this mortgage guy's telling me this. And then I read Quicken's disclosures and they're charging me 3 points. And I'm like, run for the friggin' hills, dude. Like, terrible mortgage. But I'm going to develop something that's going to just be an email address where you send your questions there. And,
AskMatt.com.
Yeah. I mean, because there's a bunch of good advice, but man, there's a bunch of crummy advice out there too. And really that's something that when you talk about the pros and cons of any mortgage, if you're dealing with some of these headset jockeys that I've personally talked to, because I've got my servicer calling me on rental property I own, hey, you want to refinance? You got this equity and we could do this, we could do that. Those guys, bless their hearts, dude. They just don't know what they don't know. And their job is just to write a mortgage. They're not debt advising. They're not thinking about a scenario and looking for future business from this guy referring his neighbor and his friends and whatnot. This guy's just got to meet his quota of 100 calls a day, and he's trying to submit at least 3 loans a day because you know, that's what the business model is. But the advice isn't going to be based on, okay, based on your scenario, let's look at it. And I'm telling you, I know this to be true because it used to be a fun little thing I did. I had Freedom Mortgage servicing one of my loans on a home I own. And I know Freedom, they are relentless. And probably guys like me and you could learn a little bit from their marketing, because these guys stay in front of their clients. They're sending two mailers a week. They're calling you 2 times a week. And I let this guy talk to me and I give him information he should be asking me for. It's an investment property. You know, here's my plans, here's my goals. And then I give him a little bit of you know, leeway to try to tell me what I should be doing. And I'm telling you, I had a guy tell me, well, based on the fact that it's investment property and based on the fact it's cash out, the rate would be about 2% higher than you're paying now. But, you know, what if we, you know, I tell him I only got about 12 or 15,000 in debt. You know, I don't have much to pay off, but is that a good idea? And I ask it just to get
Give him some rope.
Well, yeah, because
I'm with you. I'm with you.
I can't remember what he said, but it's just like, no, man, that's not good. That's not good advice. And the unfortunate part is there's a lot of people out there, and I learned this through conversations, that they're a great nurse, great firefighter, great at whatever they do. Finance isn't their thing. And that's where you really got to lean on somebody you like and trust. Unfortunately, some people say, oh, they service my loan. They probably want to help me out. And they know what's best for me. And they're taking this advice from somebody who really isn't there to look out for their best interests. So it's why it's super, super important. Talk to somebody you like and trust. Talk to somebody who is got a good reputation. You look up online and they've got, 100 positive reviews. They're busy enough that they don't have to sell something that doesn't exist, because that's 2020 with rates as low as they are, I have just raining referrals on me. I talked to so-and-so, they told me to give you a call. I saw this, they told me to give you a call. I found you online, I wanted to give you a call. And I'm probably saying it doesn't make sense in your scenario 7 out of 10 times. And 3 out of 10, 7 out of 10 doesn't make sense in your scenario. 1 out of 10, I go, you know what? It's the benefits there, but it's kind of borderline, saving $92 a month. If you're going to stay in this loan long-term, this thing breaks even at about 3 years, but I don't know. If that excites you, I'm happy to do the loan, and your finances better than I do, so you let me know. And then 2 out of 10, I'm like, dude, hang up the phone, fill out the app. We're going to save you $5,500 a year. This loan is a smoking loan compared to what you're in. And I don't know if you caught what I did last week, but I made a quick video on some folks I'm talking to now where they're sitting in a 4.75 and they've got perfect credit. They've got a ton of equity. These folks can get smoking rates, 2.75 on a 15 or 2.99 on a 30-year fixed. And for whatever reason, some people, they're just uninspired to do anything different. And I'm not a hard pressure salesman. So I go, okay, give me a call if you got any further questions, or if ever want to revisit this conversation. But they're continuing every month to pay an extra $280 in interest to some bank they don't know. I don't know. They're
You're like Ed McMahon walking in with a check and they're like, yeah, no, we're okay. Thank you. Then we're good. You're like, okay. Are you sure?
Right.
Well, I think it goes back to what you're saying. I mean, with the cash out refinance and everything too, it's just like work with someone you trust, build rapport with them. And I always tell people this, I'm like, with realtors, with mortgage professionals, with a CPA, with anyone, you want to work with someone who's got a track record. So start building that track record with a person who has great reviews, maybe is referred to you, but start building that. Don't think of it as a one and done type thing. Think of it more as I'm building a track record with someone. We're developing this trust. It's kind of like for me, when I do, work with someone selling their house or buying their, helping them buy a house. I'm like, no, this isn't for this. This is to show you that I want to develop a relationship with you because I want to be that go-to realtor for you going forward. I want this to be the first step in our positive relationship together. And anything I can do for you, whether it's a week after we close, 3 months after we close, if it's something about your home warranty, it doesn't matter. This is my way of saying to you, I want to start a relationship with you going down the road. And you're the same way. The cash out refinance, I'm sure a lot of people who give you a call about that are people that you've already worked with that trust you. So they are calling you about this and saying, hey, what do you think? Because they value your opinion, right?
Yeah, for sure. And they'll continue to get good, honest advice from me. And same as you, man. I'm when I do a loan for somebody, I remind them I'm your lender for life. So whether it's a mortgage question and you think it might be servicing related or not related to me, just come through me. I want to be your first stop for all that stuff. And, I'm connected to past clients where I'm giving them resources where they can look up their home value. They can mess with mortgage calculators to see how paying extra payments helps. They can do that. But then it always comes back to if you have a need and you're thinking about it, give me a call, because it's funny on this topic of mortgage refinance and cash out refinance, the public doesn't know what they don't know. And they think, I've heard of this from a lot of my past clients and people in general, well, Mr. Cooper is servicing my loan, or Freedom Mortgage is servicing my loan. Whoever's servicing my loan, they should be able to help me. Maybe it's easier because they already have my loan. Well, to be honest, it's easier with whoever wrote the loan in the first place. I've got, a Dropbox folder of my past clients' info, and we've got, an ID, we've got an application, we've got 18 and 19 W-2s. So if they come to me next year, it's just, updated pay stubs, latest mortgage statement, latest W-2. But the servicers are some of the worst when it comes to mortgage origination, because their specialty is servicing. And places like Freedom, I don't want to knock certain companies, but their strategy is to accumulate all the servicing, because then they've got a database of clients, and data, in today's day and age, is king, right? If you've got data on people, you can market to them, you can do this, and you can create income streams from just having the data. And so they're notorious, and a lot of the big services are just, blasting people until they find ones that have a need. They're not the best priced. They're not the most knowledgeable that can really figure out what the best loan for somebody is. The service is lackluster at best. I talked to, in this crazy environment where it's busy because of refinance and stuff, I screenshotted a couple different sites. There was the Navy Federal Credit Union, the Mr. Coopers, some of these lenders that were saying 60 to 75 days on a refinance. I think at one point, Navy Federal said that their refinances were 120 days. I mean, who's going to do something that takes 4 months to get completed? Even in the midst of the busiest times we've ever seen, and we've got to wait longer on title, we've got to wait longer for an appraisal to get done and all this stuff. Most good lenders are still closing loans in under 30 days, tops. A lot of these lenders I work with, they're changing their rate locks to 22 days, because they're saying our average broker is closing them in 15. So 22 should be plenty. And it's true. A quality originator can make the process so much easier. And that's something that, for your knowledge and for anybody's listening's knowledge, when I say a quality originator, that is sometimes as important or more important than the company they work for. Because I see people all the time getting these tiffs where it's, direct lending's the best, mortgage broker's the best, small community bank's the best. And really what's best is having a professional that really knows their shit. They know their stuff. They know exactly what to collect. They know what things to ask for. They put together a really clean package, and they submit it to a lender, no matter what lender they are. It's a smooth and easy ride because the loan originator and their team is professional and good. Now, granted, some big banks with super antiquated systems and, archaic type, processes, they're going to take 60 to 75 days no matter what. But for a lot of the local lenders, I've got guys across all channels, guys and gals. There's lots of great women in mortgage, so I shouldn't leave them out. That just do a good job. And it's the originator that's the most important piece. And people don't understand that either, where, not only the good advice, but the experience. Because there's a lot of times where I deal with someone like, oh my gosh, my last refinance, Matt, I got to tell you, it was a nightmare. Me and my wife we talked about how excruciating it was. And I don't even want to refinance to save $300 a month because it was such a horrible process. And I go, you're dealing with pros now. So settle down, Mark. We're going to get this thing done in under 30 days. It's going to be a walk in the park. And then it's a smooth, easy process, because for whatever reason, folks have a negative connotation with it. Even home purchase. I had somebody the other day tell me they were, super nervous and scared. And those were the feelings they were having around a home purchase versus excited, pumped up, buying the first house. Get the right professionals involved. This stuff is easy for somebody that does it 30 times a month.
Yeah.
So you kick back, relax, and the professionals got it handled. So that's another caveat too that people should understand. Now, I'll say that, and then I'll also remind the end consumer that you've got an important role to play in this whole thing too. You know, some folks are like, man, you know, it took me 40 days. Well, yeah, I remember exactly. Then we sent out initial disclosures. It took you 5 days to sign those. Or the appraisal, you didn't pay for it for 6 days. Then we got your approval. We gave you a list of 4 conditions. It took you 11 days to get us those conditions. So yeah, yours took 40 days, you know, because we can only move as fast as you can. So it's a lot of consideration, a lot of moving parts, and a lot of people involved with the process.
Yeah, the process. I mean, yeah, and on my end too, same thing. It's like, it's all about having a great team. God. All right. Well, I got to let you go because you got some VIP clients to tuck in, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I got some VIP clients. My boys, my youngest son has got reading assigned for school, and so they've got to log in and take a quiz.
Okay.
And being competitive, just like my wife and I, it passes down. The kids are competitive. He's number 1 in his class. They meet for Zoom Monday through Friday, and his teacher called him out because he has the most of those quizzes done for reading before bed and then taking the quiz. So we got to stay out in front, man. We got to continue to do that.
I like it.
So.
I got a night of karaoke with my 4-year-old, so I got my stuff. But listen, guys, this video is all about cash out refinances, the pros and cons. And Matt, some parting words?
Not much other than I hope you're going to link the pros and cons of a cash out refi. It's a video that I made on YouTube, 50,000 plus views. So it must be good, I imagine, because a lot of people have been watching it. And
it's good.
That video was made, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago. It's all still super relevant. And, you know, like I said earlier, like I say in that video, it's all specific on your scenario. But really, on a cash out refinance, you want to talk to a professional, talk through what you're trying to do, and then figure out there's a bunch of different ways to structure a mortgage. And a pro who is given the information from you as a consumer on what you're looking to do and what your goals are is going to be able to put together the exact package that fits best for you and helps you out for the long term.
There we go, guys. All right, guys, this is Matt, the mortgage guy, Mark McDonough, your Sacramento realtor. Until next time, see ya.
Thanks, brother.